There's something incredibly powerful about a man who knows who he is. Not just a man who looks good, not just one who makes money, not even one who talks a good game, but a man who carries a quiet strength that commands respect without demanding it. You see, real men, they move differently. They don't chase validation, they create value. They don't beg for attention, they become the kind of presence that can't be ignored. Every woman remembers a man like that, not because he bought her flowers or whispered sweet words, but because of how he made her feel. Safe, seen, grounded. A real man doesn't have to prove his worth. His actions, his energy, and his discipline speak louder than words. And here's the truth most people won't tell you. When a man chooses growth over comfort, purpose over pleasure, and integrity over popularity, he becomes unforgettable. So today, we're not talking about muscles, money, or charm. We're talking about the essence of manhood. What makes a man stand out in a world full of boys pretending to be men? Because when you embody what it means to be real, women don't just notice you, they remember you forever. A real man doesn't need to prove he's a leader. His purpose makes him one. When a man leads with purpose, everything about him aligns, his words, his energy, his decisions. He's not driven by ego, attention, or validation. He's driven by something deeper, a sense of meaning that guides him even when no one is watching. Purpose gives his actions weight. It keeps him grounded when the world tries to shake him, and it gives him direction when others are lost. Ego, on the other hand, is loud. It wants to be seen, praised, and admired. But purpose is quiet. It doesn't shout, it shows. A man led by ego is fragile. He reacts to every opinion, every challenge, every rejection. But a man led by purpose stands firm. He doesn't chase approval because he already knows who he is and where he's going. Women notice this difference immediately. They feel the calm confidence that radiates from him, the kind that says, "I don't need to control you. I just know where I'm headed." Leading with purpose means making choices that align with your values, not your emotions. It's choosing what's right over what's easy. It's saying no when everyone else says yes. It's walking away from temporary pleasures to build something lasting. Purpose doesn't always bring comfort, but it always brings clarity, and that clarity is magnetic. When a man moves with intention, he inspires trust. He becomes the kind of man who can be followed, not because he demands it, but because his direction makes sense. A real man leads with purpose because he understands that his life is bigger than himself. Every action, every decision, every word he speaks either adds to his legacy or takes from it. And when a man truly embraces that, he stops living for his ego and starts living for something eternal, something that women never forget. A real man understands that peace is more valuable than pride. He knows that not every battle is worth fighting, not every opinion needs a reaction, and not every storm deserves his energy. Protecting peace isn't about avoiding conflict, it's about mastering control. It's the quiet confidence to stay calm when others lose their cool, to respond instead of react, and to walk away when chaos tries to pull him in. A man who protects peace becomes unshakable because his stability doesn't depend on what's happening around him. It comes from within. He's not the man who yells the loudest or tries to prove a point. He's the one who listens, observes, and decides with wisdom. He doesn't need to dominate people to feel powerful. He controls himself, and that's real strength. Protecting peace means he sets boundaries, not walls. He's open, but not available to everyone. He knows when to give his energy and when to guard it. Because he understands that peace is the foundation of his power. Without it, everything falls apart. Women remember men like this, the ones who bring calm instead of chaos, who make them feel safe instead of uncertain. When a man protects his peace, he automatically protects hers. His energy becomes a refuge, a space where she can exhale, where she feels seen and secure. That's not weakness, that's mastery. A peaceful man is not passive. He simply refuses to be manipulated by noise. He moves with intention, speaks with grace, and acts with patience. He knows that peace doesn't mean the absence of problems. It means having the strength to handle them without losing himself. And that kind of man, he's unforgettable, because in a world full of men chasing drama and validation, the one who guards his peace stands out as rare, grounded, and deeply magnetic. A real man knows that words have power and he uses them wisely. He communicates with clarity, not confusion. He says what he means and means what he says. There's no guessing game, no mixed signals, no manipulation. When he speaks, his words carry truth, direction, and purpose. He doesn't talk to impress, he talks to express. Communication for him isn't about winning arguments, it's about building understanding. A real man listens more than he speaks, but when he does speak, he makes it count. Clarity in communication shows emotional maturity. It tells the world that he's confident in himself and respectful of others. He doesn't hide behind silence or vague messages. He takes responsibility for his words. Whether in love, friendship, or business, he knows that clear communication builds trust, and trust builds connection. Confusion, on the other hand, breeds insecurity. It makes people question where they stand. But a man who communicates clearly creates safety, and that safety is something people, especially women, never forget. When a man says what he feels without fear of judgment, he becomes transparent, not weak. He doesn't need to play games to keep interest. He's honest about his intentions because he values time and respect. A real man can admit when he's wrong, apologize sincerely, and still maintain his dignity. That's not something you find often, and that's what makes him stand out. Clarity also means consistency. His actions align with his words. He doesn't say one thing and do another. You can trust his word because he lives it. That reliability makes him magnetic. People naturally gravitate toward a man they can understand and depend on. When he speaks, he doesn't just communicate, he connects. And that connection becomes unforgettable because true clarity, in a world full of noise and games, is one of the most attractive qualities a man can have. A real man understands that discipline is the bridge between who he is and who he wants to become. While most people are slaves to their impulses, he learns to master his. He knows that desire is temporary, it burns hot, but it fades fast. Discipline, however, is steady. It doesn't depend on mood or motivation. It depends on commitment. A real man wakes up and does what needs to be done, even when he doesn't feel like it. That's what separates him from the rest. Choosing discipline over desire means choosing long-term peace over short-term pleasure. It's saying no to distractions that steal focus and yes to habits that build strength. Whether it's in his career, his relationships, or his health, a disciplined man is consistent. He doesn't chase every thrill or every opportunity that looks shiny. He understands that real growth comes from saying no more often than saying yes. He values self-control because he knows that if he can't control himself, the world will control him. Women notice this. They see the man who doesn't get swayed by temptation, who doesn't crumble under pressure, who doesn't need instant gratification to feel worthy. That kind of restraint, that kind of focus, it's rare and it's unforgettable because discipline isn't about restriction, it's about power. It's about having the strength to choose what's right, even when everything in you wants what's easy. A disciplined man moves with intention. He doesn't rush, he doesn't chase, he builds. Every decision he makes, every action he takes, reflects purpose. And that consistency creates confidence, the kind that doesn't need validation. Over time, discipline becomes his identity, and that identity becomes magnetic. People trust him, respect him, and remember him because he's dependable. In a world full of men led by impulse, the one who chooses discipline over desire stands as proof that true power isn't found in control over others. It's found in control over yourself. A real man knows how to honor a woman without losing himself. He understands that respect doesn't mean submission, and love doesn't mean losing identity. When he connects with a woman, he sees her as a human being, not a trophy, not a project, not a possession. He values her thoughts, her emotions, and her boundaries, but he also stands firm in his own. He knows who he is, and that's what allows him to meet her as an equal, not as someone to dominate or depend on. Honoring a woman starts with integrity. It's in how he speaks to her, how he listens, and how he shows up. He doesn't use kindness as a strategy, it's his standard. He treats her with respect whether he's interested in her or not, because respect isn't selective, it's part of his character. A man who honors women knows that strength and gentleness can coexist. He can lead without controlling, love without losing himself, and care without becoming consumed. Women remember men like this because they make them feel safe enough to be themselves. There's no fear of manipulation, no confusion about intentions. A real man's energy says, "You can trust me, but I also trust myself." He doesn't seek validation through her attention, and he doesn't lose his identity in her presence. Instead, he adds value to her world by being grounded in his own. Honoring women doesn't mean putting them on a pedestal. It means standing beside them, holding space for them to rise while still staying rooted in your own strength. It's about emotional intelligence, self-respect, and balance. When a man can love deeply without losing his direction, he becomes unforgettable. Because real women never forget the man who made them feel seen, respected, and valued, not through empty words or grand gestures, but through consistent, genuine presence. That's what it means to honor a woman without losing yourself. A real man doesn't just want to be remembered for his looks, his charm, or his success. He wants to be remembered for his impact. He understands that every action, every word, every choice contributes to something bigger than himself. Leaving a legacy isn't about chasing fame or applause. It's about living with intention and integrity. A man who lives with purpose knows that impressions fade, but influence lasts. He focuses on building character, not just an image. Leaving a legacy means understanding that how you treat people matters more than what you achieve. It's about showing up with honesty, keeping promises, and standing by your principles even when it's inconvenient. A real man invests in people, he lifts others, shares wisdom, and leaves those around him better than he found them. That's what makes him unforgettable. He doesn't just pass through people's lives, he leaves a mark on their hearts. Women, especially, remember men like this, the ones who didn't just talk but taught through action, the ones who didn't try to impress but inspired through consistency. When a man lives with legacy in mind, he moves differently, slower, wiser, more deliberately. He's not chasing attention because he's too busy creating meaning. His presence carries weight because he's building something real, a life that matters. And here's the truth, leaving a legacy isn't about perfection. It's about progression. It's about learning, growing, and staying true to who you are, even when no one's watching. A man who builds a legacy understands that what he leaves behind is not measured in possessions or popularity, but in the way people feel when they remember him. His love, his strength, his discipline, his purpose, those are the things that echo long after he's gone. And that's why real men don't just make impressions. They create legacies that time can't erase.